Hi there! You're about to listen to a vintage episode of the Under the Microscope podcast. While the content is still as relevant and as interesting as when it was recorded, our webpage has changed. You can now find us at thesciencetalk.com/real-scientist-nano. Welcome to Under the Microscope. This series is brought to you by the Real Scientists Nano team. Our goal is to provide a platform where scientists can communicate their work and interact with the public. With that in mind, every week we introduce you to a scientist working in the field of materials and nanoscience, who would be curating the RealSci_Nano Twitter account. Hi everyone! Today we have with us Hongyan Mei, who is a Ph.D. student and research assistant at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the US. Hi Mei, how are you?
Great, pretty nice. Yeah. Hi, Pranoti.
Hi. We are very, very happy to have you. And now I want to take a deeper dive into you as a scientist and you as a person. So please tell us about your career journey. How did you end up being a PhD student at Wisconsin-Madison?
So talk about my career journey. I studied my research in this field like nanophotonics during my sophomore year at Zhejiang University in China. At that time, I majored in optical science and engineering, and I was very lucky to have the opportunity to join a research group to do some nanofiber-related projects. And at that time, I'm really interested in this field and motivated to learn more and deeper. Therefore, I applied for a PhD program, and I began my PhD training at the University of Wisconsin-Madison back to 2018. Right now, I'm a fourth-year PhD student, and I would love to stay in academia for more interesting research work in this field.
Okay. Wow, that sounds interesting. So you did speak a little bit about your current research in the short podcast, but where does your current research fit in this big picture of materials or nanoscience? Because it's quite a broad field, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. This is a quite big field, and my research is dealing with different optical materials, and most of them are at the microscale or nanoscale. And beyond that, our characterization method allow us to investigate the material at the nanoscale. So it's quite relevant to this big field.
Okay, so characterization at nanoscale, so that you fit right in.
Yes.
Excellent. So your research is quite interesting, and you did speak about it in the short podcast as well. And your collaboration work and all of that. So it does sound to me that you are involved in quite a lot of interesting research projects. And this question is a tough one. And now you're a fourth-year PhD student, so I'm sure you have several of these pockets of different research projects. So if you have to pick one research project or experiment that you're most proud of, or most fun or quirky one, could you do that? Pick one research project or experiment and explain it to us in simple words in the section we call In Other Words.
Okay. It's a tough question. I have to say I'm proud of every project I'm working on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Let's be honest. You must have at least one that is slightly closer to your heart.
Okay, so I will pick my first project I'm working on, and I was working on, and we were using the focus and beam system to engineering the optical materials. So the FIB system is usually used for etching and milling or deposition, but now we can use a commercial focus ion beam to locally modulate the optical properties of metal oxides via ion doping or defect engineering, which is not very common use. We demonstrate by using the focus ion beam, we can realize the variable doping of zinc oxide. It's a transparent oxide measure, and we can achieve the plasma wavelength tuning from mid-infrared range to near-infrared range. Using the same focus ion beam system, We can also defect engineer the vanadium dioxide. Vanadium dioxide is a typical phase transition material. And we can locally modify the VO2 vanadium dioxide, tuning its insulator to metal transition temperature. We can tune in the temperature at the range of 30 degrees C. So this focus ion beam material this focus ion measure, we can use it to modify two different material systems. One is the semiconductor material, zinc oxide, and the other is the phase transition material, vanadium dioxide. And such, like this is area selective modification, and we can realize by direct writing. No need for any mask or resist. We can just direct write with a FIB, and this can lead to like pretty high resolution writing, especially if multiple like levels of doping or defect density are required. So we demonstrated this simple method to do this modulation of materials.
That is so cool, because I mean, I did use FIB during my PhD as well, but we only used it for milling and looking at the cross section of the samples. I wasn't aware that you can also do doping and defect modulation. Defect modulation, is that the term? Is that a correct term?
Defect engineer,
Defect engineering, sorry, defect engineering. That is really cool. So what kind of doping did you do? Because I remember we used gallium. We had gallium.
We also use gallium ions. Yeah.
Ah, excellent. Do you have pictures?
Gallium ions.
Do you have pictures and videos of like while you're doing the doping or while you're modifying the properties or stuff like that? Can you share those pictures? I'm sure you have pictures, but can you publicly share those pictures? Because I would be personally interested in those pictures as well.
Sure. So I will share these pictures and maybe video like during my creation of the Twitter. I will post some pictures.
Excellent. I can imagine why you took this project as one of the projects that you're proud of. Let's put it that way. Yeah, one of the projects. It does sound really, really interesting. And I do have more questions about it when you're tweeting about it, and you're taking over the account. So it's
any questions are welcome.
Thank you, Mei. So it sounds to me that you really enjoy the research aspect of being a scientist, and you also mentioned that you would like to stay in research. Did I hear it right? Yeah. So other than the research, like research is an important aspect of being a scientist, but there are also other aspects or other tasks or work that you need to do as a scientist. So what else do you like about being a scientist other than doing the science and the FIB and optical modification and characterization, the lab stuff, outside lab? What else do you like?
Okay, so in my opinion, being a scientist is very challenging, of course, but can be a lot of fun actually. So I really enjoy learning and understanding how things work, and I think you won't forget the thrill of any small but new discoveries when doing research. So being a scientist can give you that, and being a scientist can really sometimes solve the global problems, like very big, huge problems, and help to build a better world. So that's maybe a very simple answer.
That's really modest of you. I'm glad we have active researchers like you who are doing the science. That's really, really nice of you. And that brings me to the next question, because you do seem quite wise for being a PhD student. I mean, you do seem quite wise. Yeah, that is the word that I'm looking for. So do you have any pieces of advice for scientists who are starting out today, like now, or if you were to go back in time and start your scientific journey today, what advice would you give, or what advices would you give?
Okay, actually, I'm not truly a scientist now. I'm maybe in a super early stage right now.
Hey, you are a scientist. You definitely are a scientist. Fourth year PhD student is definitely a scientist.
But still at super early stage. Yes, but I still want to give myself several tips. I got these tips either from my instructors, my advisors, and some senior members, senior scientists. So yeah, so I will share with you like these tips. The first is always be curious about things and be humble to them broadly. And since there are very interesting things around, so yeah, always be curious. And second is don't be afraid of failure. As an experimentalist, yeah, failure is very common. Like yeah, experiments not very usual to do it like once you can successful. So but you need to learn from failure. And the third tip is you can like build up your communication skills. And so when like doing collaboration work with others, it's very important to have some effective communication with them. And finally, work hard, play hard, and live a healthy life. So health is the most important one, especially during this period. So like health is very important.
Absolutely. All four very, very important pieces of advices. Thank you, May. That is really, really nice. And I hope that it sounds to me that your research experience has been wonderful so far, and I hope it will continue to be wonderful in the future as well. However, if you have 3 wishes to improve your research experience, what would you ask for? And I'm not promising anything here, okay?
Okay.
Can ask for anything.
So yeah, when I like so it comes to my mind that I don't have a lot of wishes outside since I'm working with brilliant people around me, like, and I have wonderful collaborators and I have wonderful advisors and colleagues. So to be honest, I don't have a lot of wishes from outside, but I do have some personal wishes. So first one, I wish I can work harder and live a healthy life. Like I think I'm not a very nice guy to keep work-life balance.
Okay.
And the second one is do not procrastinate. So always plan ahead and schedule wisely. Yeah, it's hard to manage things when you have different tasks. And finally, yeah, I wish I can become a more independent researcher and I can equip myself to the next career stage. So it's very important for me to do that.
Okay. All three very, very.
wishes.
I thought you would ask for, like, we have had guests, our scientists asking for coffee machines and different kinds of instruments like SEM or TM and stuff like that. So your wishes.
We already have that.
True, you already have all those toys. You don't need that. But that's really nice. All 3 of your wishes are actually, I would say, they're very realistic. They're not very unrealistic. All 3: work-life balance, not procrastinating too much. Everyone does that. We all do that. I mean, come on. And also, I'm sure you will soon enough you will become an independent researcher. I hope so. And yeah, that those are really, really realistic wishes of yours. This has been wonderful, May. Thank you very much for speaking with us. But before I let you go, I have to ask you one last question. We cannot record a podcast in 2021 without addressing the pandemic that we are all living through, which started, at least came to the Western world in 2020. So what are your learnings from the year 2020 or even 2021 now that we are almost done with the year 2021 as well? What are your learnings from the pandemic times that we are living in?
So as you said, 2020 is an exceptional year for all of us due to the pandemic. And all of a sudden, a lot of the courses and research work ceased. So as a PhD student, it was hard for me to do online courses or do research work from home, especially for me, since I'm more engaged in labs and experiments. So at that time, I think a lot of us were suffering from anxiety and different concerns about the research courses and the families, friends, etc. But I think things really become way better and easier when you have support and help from different people, for example, from your advisor, from your colleague, families, and friends. So the most important learning I got from 2020 are take good care of ourselves, both physically and mentally, and do your best to help and support each other. Yeah, especially I have this feeling in 2020. And also in 2020, we found that everything went virtually. All of the conference meetings were over Zoom or Skype or different remote access. And I think, we need to learn to embrace the change since drives ourselves to adjust to the new environment. So this is very important. So that's the two main thoughts in my mind.
Right. So take care of yourself and your loved ones. Make sure you all are healthy and focus on yourself and the loved ones. And second one being, it's very easy to switch to virtual world.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the virtual conferences or do you want to go back to the in-person conferences?
I personally prefer in-person ones. I look forward to the in-person conference.
Right. I think it's a healthy mix of both would be ideal, right? In-person conferences and virtual conferences. I think some conferences you can attend virtually, some conferences you can attend in person. So that's, I think, a healthy mix. I think that's how it will be whenever this pandemic is over. It will continue to be because we have now learned how to exist in a virtual world and network in a virtual world, so that will also exist. So thank you very much, Mei. Again, your science is really amazing, and I hope soon you will defend your PhD and you will become an independent researcher and you stay in research, because we need researchers like you who are passionate about science and who are also very aware of what's happening around them. So we need researchers like you, active researchers like you. So thank you very much. I had a lot of fun speaking with you. Looking forward to having you on Real Scientist Nano.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's really nice to talking to you as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening. To know more about us, please visit our website, realscientistsnano.org, and follow us on Twitter at realsci_nano.